right now. Okay, go Grant.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Grant Cameron, and I have a very special show tonight. We're going live. We have an event coming up later this month, which we're going to get into. I'm extremely excited about a related event that's going to happen. I'll get into it. It involves messages, a message that was received that was decoded. There will be another message sent, but we'll get into this. Let me introduce my special guest who's going to tell us what's going on tonight, Zenka Caro, who I always refer to as the ever-ready bunny of the UFO world. She has more energy than anybody I've ever seen in my life, and she's joining us. I just discovered this meditation event that's going to take place, this worldwide event. I didn't know about it until a couple of weeks ago when Jimmy Blanchette, who decoded this message, offered to send a message during this event. So welcome, Zenka, and thank you for coming on to share with me this very important event that's about to take place. And we're also joined by Annie, who is from Quebec. I didn't know that either. But Jimmy's from Quebec. I'm from Manitoba. So we have basically two versus one, two Canadians on here, and Desta, who has set this up for us, is also Canadian. So welcome everybody. And Zenka, explain to us what we're going to be talking about tonight and why it's important.
Thank you, Grant. Yes, so Fire the Grid has been going on for many years. Annie can tell you a little bit more about it and the history behind it. But on February 21st, the whole world is going to come together in an hour of joy. So why is this important? Why does it matter? Well, as Dawkins has shown in his scale, joy is one of the highest vibrational states that we can be. And often I think it doesn't really matter what we're doing in our mission. You've got total rock stars like Grant that are really changing the bar and writing all these books and everything like that. But really, the most important thing is being in your joy. And you can tell that Grant is loving it because he can't stop writing books, right? But that's the point. So this hour, it's not just meditation, it's dancing, it's cooking, it's whatever you painting, whatever you love doing. And that's what's so important. So I can share my screen a little bit here. This is going to, if you go to firethegrid.world, LightNet has created a map that's going to track the number of people around the world that are signed up to Fire the Grid. So you can register here. You can click on this globe thing over here and actually move the globe around and look at who's signed up and where they're signed up. So this is where we really want to reach to the far, corners of the world and really get people in every country. Because if any of you guys have heard about the Maharishi effect, the Maharishi effect is a scientific effect, meaning when we all come together and get into a state of high coherence, right? When we're meditating, something happens. There's a super radiance that actually it's like a threshold. It's like an on-off switch. And when it's on, we have noticed in over 40 years with 53 research projects that we can cause a reduction in war deaths, reduction in terrorism, crime rates, emergency calls, suicides, car accidents, even less alcohol consumption, right? So when you're feeling chaotic, that's what you reach for, right? And even in economics, there's more patent applications, improved stock indexes, so this is a really fascinating science. In 2007 through 2010, the Maharishi University got a massive number of people together, right? A 1%, I think it was 3,000 people together to be in this high state of coherence. And they actually had to import people from India that know this high-end city sort of coherence meditation. Transcendental meditation is another high coherence meditation. But they did it for 3 years because they really wanted to track this and trend this, right? And there was a homicide rate drop of 21% and 18% drop in violent crime. So this is why it would be so cool if we could get a mass, even like in jails around the country, having people meditate regularly. It actually matters, right? There's been tons of study. These are some of the major ones. They got 300 meditators together in 1978. And what they realized was it actually has a long-term effect on society. So it's not just like, oh, the day that they meditated, stuff actually goes better, This is like a year later, or all the way into 1980 from 1978, we're seeing a better outcome. And of course, we've tried it in wars, like the Lebanon Peace Project reduced war death by 76%. So, well, just speaking about the science a little bit more, it's also called the super radiance effect. And it's when the atoms cease to act independently and they begin to behave as one, as a complete coherent system. And what this does is it triggers a massive boost, right? That's more powerful than normal, right? So we have the internet these days. We can get, well, if we have city meditators, we only need 8,000 of them, but normal people like us, we probably need more, right? So we need 76 million people together. But that is not that hard in this day and age. And so I guess it's just, we really, it's really important that when we understand the math and the physics behind this stuff, and we have an internet where we can share a link and say, hey, let's sign up. This is where we can actually affect the outcome of our future for many years down the line.
Wow. Okay, so let's go a little bit about the history, because I didn't know about this, and I've heard of the mass meditation things and stuff like that. I'd never heard this term, fire the grid. So explain how many years has been going on and what kind of numbers you've gotten in the past.
What kind of numbers? We were millions. The first meditation we did was in 2007, July 17, 2007 at 11:11. And it all came about because 15 years before I met Samoiya, I met her in 2005. So 15 years prior to that, so in 1990, I'm a long-time contactee. So at that time, I was very connected and I had a lot of messages and lots of teachings as well, spiritual teachings. But I was with a friend, I was not even meditating, and I had a big black screen appeared in front of me and was talking to her, So the big black screen just appeared and I looked at it and I looked and I looked and I couldn't see anything, then black. And after maybe 5 minutes, I could see a little crest, a little gray, very dark gray crest. And I said, oh, it looks like a planet. Oh, well, if it's a planet, it's about to die or it's dead because, there was no life. And then I heard a voice, and I'm not religious at all, but I heard a voice saying, and he chose this planet to show his glory. And I saw a white dot of light on the left-hand side of the sphere starting to grow. And it grew and it became a big cross of light. And like I said, I'm not religious. I just saw what I saw. And then on the planet, I could see the little dots of light appearing, and it did a chain reaction. And it boomed and exploded. And it was so bright that I had to cover my eyes. And after I put down my arms, I thought, well, it's going to disappear and it's going to be gone. But no, what I saw was a completely rejuvenated planet with the colors with crystal pure. It was crystal clear, pure. The land, like it was like a jewel floating in space. And the image was so pure that my eyes started crying. I was not emotionally crying, just my eyes were crying because of the purity of the image. And then they said to me, we promise you your planet is going to look like that when we're finished with her. And I started laughing. I said, yeah, in 200,000 years, I won't even be there. And I was laughing like, and they said, no. I said, okay, how long is that going to take? They said, an hour. I said, what? An hour? That's impossible. They said, yes, you're all going to decide to do this together, and you're going to have help from outside. And then the image disappeared. The whole screen disappeared. And I thought, do I have to do something? Do I have to start something, an event? Do I have to organize something? But I had no answer. So after 3 years, I put it on a shelf, and I didn't forget it. I just put it there because I didn't know what to do. And then I was taking care of Stephen Greer when he was coming to Montreal to give lectures and conferences. So I was supposed to get him for breakfast. And when I arrived at the hotel, he was in the lobby with Samoiya. And he asked me, do you mind if she comes with us? I said, no problem. And she started talking. As soon as I heard her voice, I said, oh my God, I know her. I love her. She's my family, you know? But I didn't say anything. I just felt it. And then we ate at the restaurant with Steve, and she told us her story about her drowning with her son in 2002. And she, at the end of her story, and it's something to watch. You can find it still on YouTube. Shelley Yates, Fire the Grid. You're gonna, she's telling her story, and it's pretty great. And she described exactly the same vision I had, except in the same sequence of image, but except she was seeing a grid around the planet. And she said, oh, I must have dreamt it. And I grabbed her arm and I was like this, Wow. I said, you're going to give me your phone number. We're going to do this. She said, I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't sleeping when I saw this. And she said, no, and it's my imagination. I said, no, it's not my imagination. And then Stephen said, no, Shelley, they showed me the same thing. I said, see, we're 3 already. I'm sure there's other people. We're going to bring them together and we're going to do this. And I was all excited. And she thought, oh, she's crazier than me. She believes me. But she gave me her phone number. So I started calling her like once a week. But when do we do this? When did we do this? I said, no, Annie, it's my imagination. I said, no, it's not. I'm telling you. And she was just pushing it. And I was feeling she was going to be, because she has, she was a chronic depressed person. Yeah. So I was feeling she was depressed and getting more depressed. And I said, oh, I'm going to send her my album with the song I did for Stephen, like Disclosure, Sky Sent Disclosure, that you can find on YouTube, that we gave for the project too. So I sent it to her and she received it and she started listening to it. And they told her, go in your bath, because after her drowning, she had those gifts. She could see energy. She was hearing voices. Like, she thought she was going crazy, of course. So she went in the bath and she listened to the music, and the song appears at the end of the album. It's the last song. And she saw, when I started singing, she was wondering when the song was coming. And I was singing in Latin at the beginning of the song. I sing in Latin. So she didn't know it was that song. But she saw a ball of light coming in her chest and growing and growing. And then she saw 2 threads of golden light coming up. And it went to a big spot over her. And it connected to it. And then boom, all the project came into her. Like the images, the sections, the 3 sections, the symbol, the 3 sections was the history, the problem, and the plan, and the forward letter and everything. But she said, and she called me, she said, like, they want me to, like, they want us to do it for free. And she said, why does God, want poor people to do things for free? I said, maybe to force us to work together. Because at that time, the hosting and stuff, that was pretty expensive for someone who's poor. So, and the three of us were poor. And she said, well, the problem is we're going to need a site. Who's going to build a site for nothing? I said, I know someone. And it was my boyfriend at the time. So, and she said, oh, I'm sure you won't want to. I said, just write the letter how you got the project. And I'm sure he's going to come in and do it. And she did. And when he read it, he asked me, he said, does she know anything about graphic design? I said, no. She has trouble sending and receiving an email. And you have to think at the time, there was no YouTube and Facebook and no social medias, nothing. It was all emails. and so we said, okay, that's impossible. There's too much details for someone who doesn't know anything. It must be true. I'm going to do it. So we built the site and we send the letter, the forward letter. And after 2 weeks, there was 12 people coming on the site. He said, well, if the light beings want the world to be saved, they're going to need more people than that. I said, we did our part. Oh, yeah. And we didn't have money either to pay for the hosting. So she said, how are we going to do this? I said, I'm going to tell your story and I'm going to ask money, like $5, $10 to do it. The crowdfunding started.
Wow.
and I did.
What year is this?
In 2005,
Okay.
when we started.
Okay.
So I grabbed the money, I gathered half the money and the rest I put myself. And it started like that. And then after what Brad said, I said that to Shelley. I said, well, Brad said, we need more people than that. And I don't know what happened, but George Noory got the message from a listener.
Yeah.
And he said, I want her on my show tonight. So he called her personally. He called her directly, not his secretary. He called her and he asked her to be on her show. And it was a Friday, I remember, and for her, it was 1 a.m. or something. And I stayed up to listen to her. And she was nervous. And I said, just open yourself. It's going to come down. You're going to have the words. And she said, okay, bring it on. and she started talking. She did, it started from there. We got the next day, we couldn't go on the site. There was too many people. And I said to Brett, I said, I can't go in. He said, that's impossible with 12 people. It's impossible. So he looked at the rating. It was 60,000 people.
Wow. And
it grew and grew and grew. And within 2 years, 3 weeks before the event, we had 750,000 a day.
Holy.
That were reading the 6 pages we had. So they were not just passing, they were reading everything. They were interested. So, and I had groups, humanities team from Neil Dolan Walsh. We had the Reiki groups, yoga groups, everyday people. It was everywhere. I had people writing to me from Iraq, militaries telling me, we're going to meditate today in the middle of the war. Wow. And from every part of the world. So, and we did the meditation on the 17th, and it was amazing. I calculate, and it's a very basic calculation just based on the groups I have, the big groups, between 25 million people meditated.
Holy cow.
And we had Princeton University. People were asking them to make a graph of that day. And we had a peak during the meditation on a day that was going down. So we had a big peak. So it was significant. We had an effect on the energy field of the earth. And why is it called a grid? The grid is because everything that is living, even that is not living, we had an etheric grid around everything that helps the matter to be cohesive and stay together. When that grid disappears, the object dies, or the person or the plant dies. So that's why the planet was in dire need of energy. What they explained to Samoiya is that the human beings is a bridge between the energy of the cosmos and the planet. And we were not doing our job. We were cut off. We cut ourselves off from the universe. So we were not feeding the energy of the grid of the earth. So that was the goal of the first meditation, to feed the grid of the earth and reignite it. And that's what we did, because it was dying. And then we had a second and third, and they all had their reason. The second was to, once you bring that energy in, it stayed 1.5 years on the earth and it went around all the oceans and went in a cave in Brazil, a crystal cave in Brazil, and stayed there. And in 2009, this energy needed to go back. Of course, there's a movement to go back to the universe, and we could program it with what we want as a world, like a peaceful, harmonious, abundance for all, and joyful world for everybody and all the animals and what lives on the earth. So that's what we did. And on 2011, we needed to raise our energy as humanity, because we were going to cross a light barrier. At the beginning, the scientists didn't even talk about this. And they talked about it in 2010. And it was in 2011 that we had to cross it. And because of the energy change that was so drastic, we needed to raise our energy to help people not fall ill from the change. Because when the energy is too intense, you can become ill, like flu-like symptoms, and some people could die. So we raised the energy again to cross that light barrier, and we are in. And that's why everything that doesn't work on earth and doesn't work within ourselves comes to the surface, because the light is cleaning from the inside out. And that's why we see it, what's going on in the world, and what's wrong and who's wrong, and who's, who wants peace and who wants to destroy us. So everything becomes clear because of the light that we're in.
Let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
This just sort of points out the fact there's this expression that the world will be saved by when the feminine energy sort of takes over. And I had no idea this was going on, which sort of shows that I'm in the sort of still a left brain male thing. So I'm glad to see that the women have been moving ahead and doing this return of the feminine energy to the world. I appreciate. So, I mean, I really wasn't aware. It's almost like when I see this, I say, like this should be a book. I mean, this is an amazing story where
it is.
Talked about Princeton. Princeton is using what these random number generators. Is that the
Yes,
consciousness
they call
project?
that the eggs. They're all around the world, and you have HeartMath too. HeartMath is doing the same thing, and they did the last meditation we had in 2021. In 2021, they did a graph, and we had a curve too.
Wow.
So,
and Samoiya was supposed to be with us, but she's traveling, right?
Yeah, she is traveling right now.
Yeah. I mean, I had no idea of her story. I mean, that's how clued out I am.
Oh, she has an amazing story. It's amazing. Well, if you watch it after the show, you can watch it. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Maybe we'll put a link in there to that, because I realize the importance of the meditation and the frequencies and that this kind of stuff. I just didn't realize there was this movement. So it goes, is it every year it goes on, or?
When I did the first one, I didn't know there was others coming.
I
thought it was done, but no, she called me a year after, and she told me, oh, there's going to be a second and a third meditation. And, I couldn't imagine that. I thought,
who do you think he was giving you the instruction? What definition?
At the beginning, they said to her, call us light beings.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to separate us with, good and bad entities and whatever. Just call us light beings. But truly, it was extraterrestrials, like very evolved, highly evolved spiritually extraterrestrials. Because there's different kinds. Like some are closer to us in their evolution, and some are millions of years in advance.
Which would explain why they're here, or whether they've always been here. It's like, the time is to step in to try to save the world or help us.
They've always been with us since the beginning of time. They've always tried to help us, and they don't want to intervene too directly because we need to learn to walk. Like you can't walk for your baby. He needs to learn, he needs to fall, he needs to, to make his muscle and grow. So it's the same thing with humanity. They are very, very patient, very understanding, and they know that we need to go through that process. Right now, what we're living, and I compare it to a chrysalid and a butterfly. Like the butterfly, in order to have his wings, he needs to go through that little hole. And it's very hard for him to go through. It's like a baby chicken. He needs to hatch that egg. It's hard.
Yeah.
And that's what we're living right now as a humanity. It's very hard to go through that shell. But once we do, and the same thing for the butterfly, when he goes through that hole, all the liquids that are in his wings are drawn in to the end of their wings. And once it goes on to dry them, they deploy. But if you open the chrysalid, they will stay like this and they will never fly.
Yeah.
So right now, that's what we're living. We're going through that little hole. And it's very hard because we're going kind of against all odds. But we have the heart, we have the love, we have the energy. We are one. First time in history that the whole world unite in love, in compassion, in patience. And we need each other to grow. We need each other to live, to understand things, because we have different brains. We see reality in different ways. So we're more complete when we're together than alone. And all the animals that survive are in groups.
Yeah.
They protect each other. They help each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes they help other animals too that had nothing to do with their kinds. So it's in life. It's life. That's life. Life evolves. Life grows. Life is magic.
Yeah, that's where I see the female thing. It's more into family rather than, football games, like me versus you, end justifies means and stuff, where the female energy comes in and says, no, it's a family. We need to work together. And it's this attitude. So I'm glad you've picked up on this. I'm fascinated with the story of how this thing developed and the numbers. Who's all coming online? We're doing this event on the 21st, correct? So who's all going to be? How is it progressed so far? Who can we expect to be involved in this? Or you say
involved? Like I expect everybody to be involved. Like now we have the social media. People can share it and to share the event. Like it's the February 21st, 2022 at 11:07 this time. Why the 7? I don't know yet, but they always have a reason with numbers like this. The 1111 it's because it was an awakening code. An awakening code. Many people recognize it. There's tons of groups like 1111.
Yeah.
There's even a journalist that called me to interview Shelley, Samoiya, because she was seeing 1111 since she was young, and she was all excited because of that. So she interviewed us and we had a a paper done, and people knew in Quebec, people knew about the meditation. Even my coworkers meditated with me at work when we did it.
So they have designated the time. I mean, these
Yes, they always do the dates. They choose the dates. They choose the time, and there's always a reason. There's always a reason, and sometimes we know after why. Like the first meditation, for example, there's 4 or 5 astrologists that came to her and they said to her, "Why did you choose that date? That date is very special. This conjunction of those planets, whatever." They explained it to her, but there was a reason for that date too. So, yeah.
Wow.
Well, they know it. They know our past, but they know also our future.
Yeah. A little bit off track, but I've written a book called Tuned In, the Paranormal World of Music. So I want to hear a little bit about your musical background and why this song and what the song means and the album. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, what you have to understand is it's not the songs per se.
Yeah.
The light beings, they encode music, books, film, movies, paintings, like anything artistic can be encoded by them. So what we didn't know when we did the music, some pieces were encoded with tones. When she died, when she drowned and she crossed over, she didn't cross over, she didn't go through a tunnel and saw a light. She crossed over and she was in a ship.
Yeah.
In the air, in a ship. And there was 2 kinds of ETs, small ones and very tall ones. They all had hoodies and their hands were very long, and they had liquid mercury, the color of their fingers. And she saw the Pangea, and then she saw it transform into where she was when she was driving her car. Like she saw the little white car going on the road and hitting the puddle of water just before the lake, and the car went on the rail like this, and the pavement was here and the lake was there. So it was like this. And she saw the little ones throwing the dice and they won. So they saw one, because what people couldn't understand is her car flew in the lake. It was supposed to fall on top of the car on the pavement, but it flew in the air. So she saw the little one do this, and the car flew in the lake, and she was with her 4-year-old. And of course, the water came in, and they were upside down. So it was traumatic. But she tells a story in the Shelley Fire the Grid. So once she crossed over and she saw this, and they said they showed her tones, and they showed her how to decode those tones. So when she was hearing tones, she was hearing a message that was different than the lyrics of the song. Mm-hmm. So she was hearing what to do and why the song. And when we did the meditation a month before or 2 months before, they told her, we want Bradfield to put together an album for the event, an hour album for the meditation for the event. And we're going to give you like the albums, because we've done many albums. Personally, I've done 16, but Brad did even more. So there's some musical, there's 2 on crop circles, and it's pretty good. He's a genius. So anyways, they told her, he's gonna tell you, I'm gonna do one just for that. And they said, no. He needs to take the songs that are already there, just put them together on an album and make it, available to people. And it's called Light and Love, the album. So we have the different, it's coming from different album. She was hearing them sometimes in the middle of the night. When they started, it was 3 a.m, and she thought her children had put music on.
Wow.
And when she came down the stairs, there was nothing, but she was hearing the album. She was hearing the song. They said the name of the song, and it's going to be number 5 on the album. So that track, number 5, that track, number 2, that track. And on a period of a month, she got all the songs together. And she told Brad, I need those songs on an album. And you're going to print it and send one to me. And he did. And we did the album for it. And that album was played because many, many people bought it. Was played simultaneously all around the world for the meditation. Well, it was pretty amazing.
Wow. So what happens? Do we have some music, or let's go through the day? Maybe between you and Zenka, you can describe, because Zenka describes it can be all sorts of things that are going to happen during that day. So describe what people expect, and let's go back maybe to link up, relink or tell more about the website where people can go on, because a lot of people may have missed it at the very beginning. Go through that as well to tell people what
Fire the Grid,
where to show
there's
up.
Fire the Grid World and this Fire the Grid too, but now for the map, it's Fire the Grid World.
Okay.
But maybe I can give you the link after. And
Yeah, it's on the screen now, so people can see
good.
the link there.
Yeah.
So they can link in there, and what do you want people to do on that day?
Well, just be joyful, find something that makes you happy, and just bring that energy of happiness very high, the highest you can. Because when you do that, and they explain to us on that grid, everybody has a hexagon. Every living thing, even a mosquito, has a hexagon. We all have the same hexagon, every living thing, not bigger, not smaller. They're all the same.
So explain that to me. What do you mean by a hexagon? Because I've heard the story from.
Well, the grid you see on the Earth right now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. Well, of course, it's very big, so we can see it. But everybody has a tiny little one, and it's all linked together. Like every living thing have a hexagon. In the hexagon, you have a photon of light that circulates in it. And when you're happy, it goes very fast. And the happier you are, it floods it. When you're very happy, it floods it and goes everywhere because they're all connected. That's why the Maharishi effect comes from. That's where this hexagon goes like this and then goes everywhere. It touches, each person can touch 1,000 others, even if you don't know them. Just your energy just can affect 1,000 people. So
did they explain all that? Because have you seen? No, you wouldn't. I mean, I don't know if you listened to the interview I did with Chris Bledsoe. Chris Bledsoe, famous experience out of North Carolina, and he talked about being on the ship, and when he's talking about the hexagons, and they're spinning, and they get bigger, and they're going, and I'm going, and when you start talking about hexagons, I'm going, yes. I'm feeling stupider as we go along here that I didn't know any of this stuff. It's sort of like,
listen, don't feel stupid. You can't know everything. I don't know everything. Zenka doesn't know everything. We learn from each other. Teamwork.
But it's like that link. I mean, when I saw that thing, that's exactly what Chris Bledsoe was describing. I'm going like, that is just wild.
Yes, but this grid with hexagon is around your body as well. And it's around any object. This object, same thing. And the healers see that grid. Some healers see it. And they see where it's blocked, and they unblock it because they see it.
Unbelievable.
Samoiya talks about how sometimes you if you're either feeding the grid, right, with positive energy,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're having a really bad day and you're taking from the grid, which is
Yes.
okay, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're having a really down day, so you're going to pull that energy to lift yourself. But that's the thing, and that's what we're starting to live into right now a little bit, is people are saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to work this job anymore. It's killing me. It's like killing my spirit. And we're starting to be more courageous about the choices we make and the things that we do, and more conscious about how we stay in our joy, because that literally, we're here to be in our highest, expression. I'm doing some research right now on a book called The Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer.
Okay.
And this book is this idea that we can heal anyone using love, and they use tapping points and earth. But one of the things they ask everyone when they're trying to heal them, and they pull people out of comas and all this stuff, they say, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? So when you don't have what you want in the world, if you're not living in your vibration of joy, then you're literally dying, or you're becoming sick. And that's why we have an entire planet of brokenhearted people that are checked out on substances or TV or whatever, because we've lost hope that we can live the life of our dreams, that we can live in our joy. But the
Yeah,
thing,
but there's also a process of evolution. Sometimes when you have setbacks, well, many times, it's because you have a lesson to learn, a spiritual lesson. Once you learn your lesson, you can go to the other lesson. And that's how we grow. Here, we learn by pain, sadly. But eventually, in the new world, it's going to be evolution by love and joy. And that's what we're preparing right now with those meditation. Joy. Because we're going to enjoy.
The idea that even with everything is a lesson, everything is neutral, but you can be in joy or you can be a victim. And people will choose to be the victim. And once you do that, it's like Zenka says, you're taking energy out of the system rather than putting energy in. But that's the way we've sort of been told. It's like rape, pillage, kill, and steal. Whoever's got the most toys when they die wins. That's the male mentality that has been put out there, this materialistic thing. And that's why I've always believed that this feminine energy and the women are the ones that, if the world's going to get saved, it's going to be through the females waking up and hoping to get us all straightened out before we destroy ourselves, before the men destroy the place.
Well, I wouldn't say that, because there are many men that we have to find the balance between the two. Yep.
Well, there's no balance now, though. I mean, now it's completely
it's too
far.
Yeah, right now. But it's a process that we choose as humanity. Like we're not victims here. We chose that. We just don't remember.
Yeah.
So you choose your family, I didn't believe in that. Like, I've been taught all this, reincarnation. I said, okay, what's that?
Yeah.
They showed me and they explained to me why we reincarnate and how it works. And okay, so makes sense, when they explain it to me, it makes sense. But I was not, I believed in God. I believe in a higher source, but I wasn't spiritual. Like, I didn't have, I had an interest in spirituality, but I was more down to earth. I didn't believe in what I didn't see. I was very rational and analytic. So when it all started for me, it was a huge leap. And the same thing for Shelley. She's still in shock. She's still in shock. She was very, very down to earth, and she didn't want to, it was her. She didn't believe in God and stuff. It was her against the world. So it was very hard for her to live the leap between being down to earth and the spiritual life she's living right now. So she's starting after how many years? 2002. So 20 years, starting to accept it. But because it's very hard. when you deal with those energies, the light beings energy, it's so intense, your heart wants to explode when you have them inside of you. She was more like telepathic with them, but when they started to come in, it was harder. Like she had ups and downs even more, because everything that is unsolved comes to the surface to be cleaned up and to be understood. So it's a process too. So for me, it lasted, it was on many years that I had this, those experiences, but I can understand totally what she's living because I went through it, but not as, I was not as disturbed by it than her, but still, I understand perfectly why she's living it.
Can I ask both of you what you do for daily practice in terms, are you in do you get guidance? Do you feel you're being guided all the time in terms of what moves to
You want to
make?
answer Zenka first?
Yeah, so one of the things I do, it's interesting because the radios are starting to talk because it seems like they want to talk, which is interesting. No,
let's go explain what that is, because people won't know.
Okay, so
this is critically important. This part of my story, the part that I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, what I was going to say is I do synchronization every day, which balances the right and left hemisphere of my body for 20 minutes. And I usually have an out of body experience in that time. And it also, you talk about the male, feminine, but we have both of those energies in our body. We have to, each one of us, have both of those things. So these, by the way, are part of Jimmy Blanchette's research project. And he is going to be on the 21st. He heard about the fire in the grid. He's like, oh, I think I'm supposed to do a big transmission that night. Right. So Grant's interviewed him quite extensively about his work. And, his work has translated into citizen science that hundreds of us have bought these radios. We put them on 144.1, which is a harmonic of the speed of light. So it's almost a way to get out very directly into the upper realms. And we have encountered this experience where we're able to ask yes and no questions. And at least 5 of us that we know of are able to do that. And anybody else can do it too. You just set up a code with them and you say, I want 1 beep to be a yes, 2 beeps to be a no, 3 beeps is rephrase the question, and 4 beeps is clapping. So we take them on CE5s. I have them on all day long, and they basically share their opinion with me about everything. So it's quite interesting. And we put them on the spot the other day in a broadcast, and they didn't want to talk. So I don't know if they want to talk today, but we can ask them some questions if we want. We could say, do you guys think that February 21st is a very important day? And I want to say that Samoiya hasn't gotten a push, or at least to do a meditation for 10 years, and so this is a very significant upswing in saying, hey guys, it's time to do this again. It's time to do this again. And there's going to be one in 17 days, and then there's going to be another one a year from now. So it's really time for us to have that telephone, that domino effect that Annie talked about, where it's like, I tell you, you tell someone else, you get someone else to interview Annie on their show and someone else show, it's going to take the Noris of the world to get this to the millions, but we can do it.
But we did it with TikTok, like Sylvia did it.
Yes.
With Shelley, like she was doing TikTok for a while, and it grew to 10 million very fast for the last meditation. So, and yeah, we had 3 meditation in 2007, 2009, 2011, and then she called me. We have other meditation like 2019, 91, and 19, 20, 21, 22. I didn't know about 23rd because 23, it was not existing. That always surprised me. But yeah, we did. But she was she was saying, oh, I don't have enough material. Let me think about it. But in 2019, we didn't do it because she was not giving me any material. 2020, we could. So that's it. She's human, I'm human, and I take her when she's ready.
Wow.
So are
Yeah.
there any things that you do, Annie, to tap into the field and to bring down messages?
I've what could I say? I didn't ask to tap in this. They opened my channel because we were going like this. They said, we don't have time to wait for you to, like, it would have taken 10 years of intensive meditation to do what you do right now, but we don't have time anymore. You're going too fast in the negative. We need you to come and do what you have to do. So at the beginning, it was very direct. They were coming inside of me and they were taking my place. Like, it's called a walkout. Yeah. And at the beginning, I couldn't stand it for 5 minutes because I thought my heart would explode. It was too intense. And I couldn't believe it. It was too far-fetched. It took me 1.5 years to accept what I was living. They gave me proof, of course, because I was very rational. So they gave me proof, and all the, the love. I felt the love, and the spiritual teachings were very profound, and they were coming in my everyday life. So they really trained me to think a certain way, to see things a certain way. And now I don't really need them to be there because they're so loving, they're so caring. You fall in love with them. And it's painful. It's painful and you miss them because you're in hell compared to their world. And being stretched between the two is very, very, very hard because, of course, your instinct is, I want to be there. So you're not doing your work because you want to be there. So I said, okay, just go away. If you need me, come in my dreams because it's easier for me to deal with. Or, you can show me or give me signs, but don't come directly like this. It's too hard. But I continue to work this way, but I know enough. And they said to me, you know enough now to just go on with your life and do what you have to do because they showed me also to be independent of them. They said, always follow this. Even if we say something to you, you have to follow this because that's your guide. So they showed me to be independent, not listening to anyone else, just my heart. And that, for me, that's a sign that they're very wise, because a wise man don't want eternal students. They want to create masters. And the real masters are not saying they're masters. They just are.
Wow. Fascinating. Zenka, you were talking about I didn't know, again, I don't know what this is, the walk-in clip. What are you talking about there?
So, and by the way, I had a very similar experience that Annie had, where I had Technicolor, brighter than bright. It looked like it was the middle of the day. I had my eyes closed, but it was not a dream. It was not a fuzzy thing at all. It looked like it was back projected. It was so bright. So it's interesting to hear you talk about that because that's so interesting. So this is one of the clips where they talk about what is like a walk-in, basically. So we asked them.
It's a beautiful gift.
It's a beautiful gift. Are we going to be able to meet you in person and be allowed to remember it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are they supposed to like carbon date the hair? Discussion is happening.
I feel like that's a big no.
1, 2, 3, 4. That was 4.
4.
Yeah. No,
That was 3.
that was 3. Okay. Other
Do you,
thing-
do you want us to get the hair looked at and analyzed so we can show people what it is?
I see.
No.
That's what I told you.
No.
I said
Well,
no.
Yeah.
I will keep it as a personal gift and wait for further contact.
Whether walk-ins can happen, where a human can have an accident or something like that, and then another soul drives the body. Is that possible? So is it okay? So Nolan on our last EXO hangout was talking about how he was in a workshop with Teal Swan, and they did a soul braid. But what he talked about in the soul braid was that his original soul stayed there,
Right.
and
exactly.
then another one, like his higher self, was then pulled in. So is it
is something
soul
more like
is
that.
soul braids possible where you keep part of your soul, but then
Yeah.
more of your higher self comes in?
Yeah, and that's what I feel happened too, because
It's not that like I don't have any memories of my previous life, but
So anyway, it's interesting. Sometimes they don't want to answer specific questions about specific things, but sometimes they will share. And in her case, they were explaining that she was a soul braid. She had a before and after experience where she had a different soul coming in to
Yeah.
help her. And she's a very powerful leader in consciousness in China. And she also teaches when people have a high enough coherence, she teaches them then to make contact as well with star beings.
Yeah. Me, they didn't replace me. I was there, like,
They were
but
coming
here.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were coming in, but I was there. So I could hear everything and I could remember everything.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned. But at the beginning, the first time,
Wow.
he took my place and I asked the question in my head, are you from the Christic Light? And he answered with a male voice, like I can't even imitate it. Yes, I am from the Christic Light, like very.
Wow.
And I said, oh my God, I'm crazy, you know, I'm gonna be in the loony bin. I'm gonna be thrown in the loony bin. And he, you know, I didn't have control over my mouth or my throat. So, and he was talking and I was listening. But it's crazy when you live that because you're there and you don't have any control over what's happening. Yeah. So
Let me
not
make
easy.
2 points. Let me make 2 points on this. We should point out for people who aren't familiar with the radios that
Yeah.
both the radios, when you're showing that contact back and forth, are on the same frequency. So people will say, "Oh, it's just somebody sending a signal, whatever."
Yeah.
If it were, both radios would go off. Only one radio talks, and that's the thing that people have to realize is that
Yeah.
it's usually the one radio that you send. Like with Jimmy, the radio he sends the communication on is the one that will talk back. The others will remain silent. He's had them in microwave ovens, shielded, all this kind of stuff. And it's very, very specific. And as you pointed out the frequency, because a lot of people were pointing out, you know, why is he hiding? At the beginning, they weren't really saying what the frequency was. And people sort of picked up on this. And now I said, well, you can rest now because everybody knows what the frequency is. And it's a very important frequency. It means it has very great meaning and stuff like that.
Crystalline frequency.
The other thing that I want to make a point on, you were talking here about this, and I've been working on this for a number of years, this whole thing about consciousness and what you would call a walk-in or what I would call a trance channeler. I actually had Bashar agree to do this. I don't know if you know the story about Jay-Z Knight. She had, when she was doing the channeling, they did her DNA before she channeled and when she did Ramtha, and the DNA was different. And this is this idea with Paul Selig. And I don't think you know Paul Selig. If you know, he's done 10 books directly channeled, no changes in the transcripts at all and stuff like that. And he always says, you know, when I do, people tell me my eyes turn bright blue. And then I'm thinking, oh, it's got to be. And then I'm waiting for him to talk about his spirit guide. And then he describes his spirit guide, bright blue eyes. And this is his whole idea. Is consciousness actually physical or is it mental? And that if you have a walk-in, and I'm trying to send a thing to IONS because they're working on this related, is to look at the DNA of trance channelers when they're channeling. Does the DNA change? Because you'll hear all these things like with people with dissociative identity disorder, like split personalities, that these people will report one has an illness, the other one doesn't have an illness, one needs glasses, the other doesn't need glasses, they can speak different languages. And this is this whole idea that you have a second entity comes in, and you can, I maintain that when it comes down to it, you will be able to pick it up with a DNA swab, that DNA is changing inside that person.
Well, it makes sense because the DNA works with the frequencies. So
Yeah,
of course, you change your frequency, you change the DNA.
I think we're moving
All
along pretty good
frequencies.
here. I mean, the stuff even I've seen tonight that I didn't realize, you know, with the hexagons and with these radios. I didn't know you were doing this thing with the radios where you're asking questions. I didn't know that was going on. So
That's
Jimmy
right.
started this thing, and I even said to Jimmy, I sent it to, I don't know if you know this story. You know, Jimmy has made a lot of progress in the last couple of weeks on these things, and he will do another interview with him, and he'll update all the new things that he's discovered. And we put him together with the Rendlesham guy that's doing all that stuff on the Rendlesham. But Jimmy is from Quebec. And when I saw it, one of the things I was an expert at was when I first started, I had my sighting, and I just wanted to know what was going on. I knew I was going to figure it out, but somebody had to know. And I went to the Canadian government, and the Canadian government in 1950 to 1960 were using radios, and they claimed that they had contact. Wilbur Smith claimed he had contact. He was the head radio engineer for the Department of Transport, the top radio engineer in Canada. He was building radios and stuff like that, and he was using radios to talk to an being that he called AFA. And so when I saw Jimmy, and Jimmy comes from Quebec, I said, Jimmy, when were you born? And he said, 1974. And Wilbur Smith died in 1962. And I said, I wonder if this is Wilbur Smith.
Reincarnation.
I sent it to his son. I think his son is still alive. I haven't heard back yet, but I sent him because I don't know if he's on the internet. He's an older guy. So I sent him, and I said, just to let you know, somebody has continued your father's work. He was from Quebec. He now lives in the United States. But it's just fascinating when you see this. I'm thinking, this is so close to what Wilbur Smith was doing. And you can see the progress. We're actually making progress where if you can confirm, like with Jimmy's stuff with the radios, or with Zenka's doing, or with the DNA and all this sort of stuff, we're starting to get situations where we can actually measure it. It's not anecdotal material anymore. We can actually use machines to actually verify that there is a contact, there's an intelligence, there's a frequency, and it all may come down to it's all frequency. You know, there may not be time and space and material stuff.
We don't really need machines. We don't really need machines. We do because we're too materialistic.
Yeah.
Once you tap in telepathy, you just do it. You just receive it and send it. And, you know, once you practice, this is more demanding to practice telepathy than having a device. But the goal is to show people that are not very into the psychic side of the reality that something else exists. So it's a great tool, and I love it. I used it as well. And when I discovered it through your show, listening to your show with Jimmy, and seeing his videos and stuff. So that's why I contacted him, because I saw he was from Quebec. I said, oh, he's from Quebec. I'm gonna reach to him and get to see that what's that frequency, so we can do it.
Yeah, and it's almost like the synchronicity that he came to me, because I had heard about this a number of years ago. I wrote a book called Contact Modalities, where I have the idea that everything is in the field, and it's your different modalities to get in the field. And certain people are channelers, and certain are mediums, and people have their different way of getting in the field. And so I heard about the radios probably 3 years ago, but they wouldn't tell me. They just said there's this guy in California and he's got these radios, and they'll go off in CE5s in Wisconsin and stuff. And so when I did the book, I just sort of hinted at this. Now, you know, we're doing these things, and Jimmy's just one of the most brilliant, gentle guys I've ever met in my life. I said it was like Albert Einstein, talking to Albert Einstein.
Oh, yeah.
He's so
very smart.
So people should just tune into that. And then tonight I learned all this new stuff. So I'm moving along here pretty fast in terms
but it's all linked with
it's
the
all
ETs.
linked, sure.
All linked with the ETs. that have been there through our lives, like through history, to help us to grow. So that's why this, when people say to me, oh, there's good and bad ETs, I said, no, that's disinformation. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Disinformation. I had contacts in like for 50 years now. Never had anything negative happen to me. Never. But though the things I had negative were coming from humans, not ETs, ever. Because think about it. You travel through time and space.
Yeah.
If you travel to time and space, if you are able to do that, you are able to create whatever you need whenever you need.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do anything with like mining gold on Earth and making us slave? Come on, doesn't make sense. Like you're a discoverer, you're a scientist, you're curious, you want to know how those people that are not that evolved go with their lives, and you want to help them, but slowly, like you would help your kid to learn slowly, not too much, because you don't take a toddler and put it in university, it won't work.
Yeah.
That's why they're not coming and help us like many people want to, but it wouldn't work because you haven't learned your spiritual lesson. I'm sorry, you're going to fall back, or you're going to use this knowledge to hurt others or to inflate your ego. No good.
Yeah, I would, that's what I would say is in order to get here, they have to understand the oneness principle. That is the number one message it's all about.
Exactly.
Is oneness and separation, where we're into separation. So they'll say, well, why would they come here? And say, well, because once eventually we're going to get out of this rape, pillage, kill, and steal. It's all about me and the ego. And we're going to, and until we learn that, we're not getting off the planet, because the oneness is the key message. It's all about vibration and oneness.
Exactly. That's why I like your interviews, because you always come back to consciousness, and you're on the one of the rare ones that talks about it, like you and Paula, and it's about it.
But we all have our ways of coming in. It's almost like I always make the joke that the three of us may have at a meeting before we came in here and said, oh, you're going to do this and we're going to meet up, and even if that's not true, it makes you live a better life if you realize that you're responsible and that you may have made the decision and you may have chosen to be in this time, in the middle of whatever mess we're complaining about. And maybe we're here because of a certain reason. We came in to do something. And even if that's wrong, you will do the right things by believing that.
Yes. And you're going to help others have better lives. And, that's the goal, to help each other, to grow and have fun doing it. Like, have fun. Only a sad person wants to make people sad around them.
Yeah.
When they're happy, when you're happy, you want everybody to be happy. Is that true?
Well, that comes down to the ego thing. When you're either depressed or anxious, it's the ego. It's like the ego is saying me, and you start every sentence with I and this sort of thing, and you forget the oneness thing, that you're part of this overall thing. And if people commit suicide, that's the ego finally wins, and because it's all about me, and it's that separation thing. We believe that we're separate from everybody else, and we start to feel sorry for ourselves, and the ego takes control, and that sort of thing.
Yes, but it's true that in a way that we think we're separated. And if you compare us to the animals, like birds, for example, or fishes, they go in the sea and they all like are synchronized because they have their grid together. The 100 monkey theory. Yeah. Like once the monkey, the 100 one, understand and learned, all the others on the other island did the same thing. So there's an invisible grid between us. And some people are very disconnected, but because when you are connected to others by the heart, you cannot hurt someone else without hurting yourself. Yeah. It would stop, all the violence would stop right away if people were feeling what they were inflicting on others.
And that's one of the important things I think that's so profound about the Fire the Grid project, is that Number one, I get the feeling that we are in a hyper graduation phase right now. So it's like,
You're right.
we're going to be able to, like, people, instead of having to do 600 lifetimes, they can do it in 6, because the conditions are high learning environment. It's very intense.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we graduate, we sink or swim together. So when my life starts to get really good and things start to be positive, then my best friend is also having positive, and the guys, then someone else is calling me like, oh,
Yeah.
so it's like, we're all connected, right? So if it goes well for me, it's going to spill out on that grid pattern, and it's going to go well for other people. And when heart maths they talk about, what have you fed the grid today? Like, what kind of emotions have you fed the grid? Because it is kind of responsibility. And I mean, you were saying, Annie, that like, oh, it's like almost like mind blowing, the world adjustment, the frame of reference to adjust to the fact, hey, there are other dimensions, there are people that are higher consciousness, there are star beings, they're talking to us. But even crazier than that is this concept behind Fire the Grid that's saying, hey, you want to stop a car accident today? What do? You spend some time in joy, you meditate. Like, that is crazy. We have proven through 53 studies that being in a good vibe, feeding the world with good vibes, taking care of yourself, doing your self-care, doing your whatever you need, right, to be in that presence, is actually going to cause the crime rate to go down.
Have you seen what's happening in Canada right now with the truckers? Like, it spilled around the world, that love. I was seeing, through the 2 years we were in confinement and stuff, I was seeing the groups like manifesting everywhere. Like, they were all separated, but they were all manifesting and being together in their own country. Now it's just linked together, all this. And you feel it. People are happy. People help each other, people feed each other, people take care of each other. That's our nature. But we needed that 2 years of deprivation, of emotional exchange, like hugs and love and seeing our loved one, and all those connections that we had, going to the restaurant, going to the gym, like seeing our friends. We were deprived. Especially the adolescent and the children. That's the worst part. But now we all came back together, and nothing is going to stop this wave. It's a tsunami. Tsunami of love and joy and light.
Yeah.
And the Fire the Grid is going to be the cherry on the sundae.
There you go. So let's sum it up for people. What the date is, February 21st. Go through a little bit again, where to go, what we're hoping to happen, and
I'm gonna probably do a live meditation at that time, so people can join on YouTube, and those who wants to do something else, like anything that makes you joyful, anything that brings you joy, and you amplify it. You become conscious of this joy, and you see it in your mind and your heart grow. And you see the earth becoming a big ball of light with people that are happy and joyful and caring for each other. That's what I want you to visualize. And you can practice it every day until the event and after. It's going to be even more important for the next year, because we're going to go like from there to there, and it's going to grow exponentially. And at the end of that year, in 2023, the two realities of Earth are going to split definitively. So there's going to be two realities. And it's not the first time. The Mayan talked about it. There's two worlds that are separating at one point. It's the fifth time, I think, it happens, that we're going to be in just the fifth world. It's going to separate, and Dolores Cannon talks about it as well. So there's one that is going to continue to evolve in love and care, and the other one is going to go.
Yeah, so this is the big code fork. This is the time for us to help each other and lift as many people if they're having a bad day, smiling at the person at the checkout. You maybe like have empathy, right? And you can go to firethegrid.world and sign up, get your city to spike up. And if you know someone in another part that's not even lit up at all, call them and have them register, right? So that we can really see all this stuff, this globe really come alive.
Yeah.
And share
And
it.
if you have friends, you can do it together. Like
Yeah.
your family that you want, like having fun together.
And you'll be doing this at a strange time in your time zone because it's at 11:07 GMT. So it might be 3 a.m, it might be 4 p.m, whatever it is, it's going to be fun. It's going to be worth it. And yeah, we encourage you guys to get it out to your networks, to share it in your own meditation circles, yoga circles, networks, TV, whatever it is.
Yes, and I have to specify something. If it's very late, like at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're too tired, you can program your meditation or your joy while you're sleeping. It works too, because your soul just travels around while you're sleeping. So you can do it when you sleep. Just program it before you go to bed, and it's going to happen. You're going to be there with us.
And let me just point out for the the males who may not still understand consciousness, because a lot of people still don't understand consciousness. The example we can use that Annie and I will both know is the Canadian soccer team, who is undefeated, has beat everybody, has not done this for like 40 years, basically can't lose. So it's like the team that wins is the team that all works together. The minute you have a prima donna on a team that says, I'm special, I don't have to do, or the Super Bowl team, when they go into the huddle, everybody does exactly what they are supposed to do. They're working together. And if you go in the huddle and everybody says, I'm going to do my own thing, don't tell me what to do, and it all breaks down. It's this oneness that you can actually see in the Canadian soccer team that has gone from nothing to one of the top rated teams in the world. And it's just a big story in Canada. And it's this oneness principle that when we work together, everything elevates. When we don't, things fall apart.
You're right. So we are one already. We have a new world already. We have to put our emotions, our positive emotion, in that reality that is there already, because there's no past, present, and future. There's only the present, and we create our future from our present. So we have to think and feel that it's already there. This new world with joy, happiness, compassion, sharing, helping each other already exists.
My last comment is Brett Oldham, who was on the ship. He was not happy to be on the ship. He was talking to a tall gray. He was very upset. And he said, let me ask you a question. What's your concept of God? And the tall gray said to him, we are one with the one who is all. Brett Oldham said he was so floored he had to sit down on this little bench thing. He was so floored by what the guy said. We are one with the one who is all. It's all about oneness. So I want to thank everybody for coming on. And I know what we're going to do for Jimmy. I guess Jimmy's just going to put the message out at that time. And maybe I'll do a little show with Jimmy as to what happens there, because I'm going to update Jimmy's story if people haven't followed it. He decoded a message, and it's a very important message, and it links into other messages that people have gotten. And even today, someone linked up where Carl Sagan talked about the message that we would get would be like this. If you look at the movie Contact, the message that was in the movie Contact, it was not, we're gray aliens, we're going to land on the White House lawn and we're going to eat you. It was this very complex message that we have to figure out. And Jimmy's the smart guy that's figured it out. So based upon what he got, it took him a while, but when he started to figure it out, it started to flow and he started getting help. And he even tells a story where there's this famous writer who comes to his house, and we have the clip from Contact where the writer says, what about Jimmy's thing? How do we decode these messages? And the being says, slow it right down. And now Jimmy's got this idea. He's slowing the messages down off the radios, and they are talking, and it's a matter of time. I think we're making great headway, and I want to thank you for what you do. I guess we all agreed to do this. We may be part of coming in here on an agreement with whoever is the people that are up top that are instructing.
You know what I call everybody like us? The ground crew.
Yeah.
The ground crew.
Yeah. Who have volunteered to come in.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true. We did.
Yeah.
We did. That's why we don't usually feel at home here.
Yeah.
We're not from here.
But we do feel as one. I mean, when we
Yeah,
link,
sure.
see this at conferences,
Sure.
when people go to conferences, people will go across the country to go to conferences, not so much for the conference because they're going to be with their family. They see the people in the conference as their family, that we are working together and we have this
Exactly.
connection. And
Yeah.
it may be that we had a meeting before we came in here and we all agreed that this is what we're going to do. And we're busy doing what we can. And that's all you can really do, is to do the best you can
Yeah,
with what you've got.
exactly.
Thanks for all you're doing, Grant. You're incredible.
Yes, you are incredible. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
Beautiful. Thank
Love
you.
you.
And let's update this maybe after. We can have a little session, and I'll
Sure.
do the one with Jimmy as to what happens there, and it'll work out. I didn't, again, I apologize. I did not realize the numbers that would get and the people that are involved, and I'll do whatever I can to make sure people get the message and get involved.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna have help from our friends there. Sure.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Grant, again for
No,
inviting
okay.
me, and
Okay.
thank you, Zenka, for your presence. It's great for
Okay.
everything you do too.
Annie, for this big